on to Straight from the Paws. Today I have again my co-host with me, Bev Andrade.
Hello.
That's it, she always says hello. And we also have a guest today, and her name is Chris White. And
Hello.
Chris, hello, and you're from?
I'm from Rochester, Mass,
Yep.
of Emerging in Health, a homeopathic consultant.
Homeopathic consultant. Now, some of you might be saying, why is she on Forever Paws? Straight from the Paws. Well, because Chris helps us out with our animals. So we're going to talk a little bit about her business first, and then we're going to move on to what she's done for our animals at Forever Paws. So can you explain to people what exactly a homeopathic person does?
Sure. So homeopathy is a natural solution. It's similar to herbalism.
Okay.
It's really probably the easiest way to explain it to consumers. Our remedies or solutions are used with the animals or with humans to resolve symptoms like skin conditions, digestive complaints, colitis, also emotional complaints. And the remedies are actually made from plants and minerals, so everything from our planet. So similar to herbalism from that side.
Really?
Yep.
And how many people are in your office?
There's two of us. There's myself and Alex Lopes, and she's actually also an integrative health coach. And so we do homeopathy, we do health coaching, and some other different types of natural solutions with both people and actually animals. We actually have the ability to see animals at our office, so we also will come out to people such as Forever Paws.
Well, that's fantastic, and I know you've helped us out with our animals. So let's just say that Bev was going to you as a client. Bev, what would be your concern?
Nuts.
Well, we all know that.
We're
However,
doing complicated
yes,
cases.
we do complicated cases. But let's just talk about, for example, something, well, your fingernail. You have a problem with your
I
fingernail.
have a problem with the fingernail. It's in a Band-Aid today.
Okay.
So my fingernail split from the cuticle out.
Okay.
So it's lifting, and you can't heal a fingernail.
You can't heal it, right, correct.
You can't heal a fingernail, so I have to keep it covered because if it gets stuck on clothing or my hair or
Yep.
just touch it the wrong way, I'm
Yep.
going to lose the whole fingernail.
You're going to lose the fingernail.
Right.
Okay.
So I have to keep it covered at all times.
All times. So the first thing that I would ask you if you came in is that something like, do you have nail issues in the past?
Never.
Like, never. So
Never.
it was just something that you kind of hit and it just cracked it possibly?
I kept swearing I did not hit it. I know I did not bang it on anything. And I just noticed it one day. I said, oh, this is weird.
Yep.
It had a hole in the middle of the fingernail.
Okay.
So the top where, you know, the part that grows off,
Yep.
that was still closed.
Okay.
It was in the middle that was opened. And it looked very raw and red.
Okay.
And then the cuticle had a giant lump.
Oh,
on
wow.
it.
Okay.
Now that lump has been moving out, so the lump isn't on the cuticle anymore. Now it's moving down the nail,
Okay.
and that opening is now at the end of my fingernail. So I'm always afraid I'm going to get it caught on something.
Okay.
So I keep it on Band-Aid all the time.
So a quick remedy that I would look at, like if you said, Chris, just let me try something, would be a remedy called silica, which is actually from a mineral.
Okay.
So again, it's plants, minerals tend to be where we pull from.
Okay.
And that would be the quick fix. Now, if you took that and you didn't see any positive results with it, then I would say to you, you know, Bev, really, you probably have something that is coming up for you, like it is a symptom that's been there for a while, or it's been like you talked about the lump on the cuticle and stuff.
Yes.
So we would do a full profile of you. So we would go through other things that might be going on for you from other skin
just
symptoms.
for my fingernail?
You would, because
Wow,
what happens,
interesting.
what's really interesting in homeopathy is we all have symptoms that come up for us day to day that we don't really connect. Right?
Right.
And in homeopathy, we very much look at the mental, the emotional, and the physical, because there are very few things that happen. Like if you fall and break your ankle, well, that's an accident. That's what we would call an acute. That can happen. That happens any which way, to any person. But other things that come up, like people that get headaches, people that have skin conditions, people that have digestive complaints, and they're like, we don't associate them saying, well, this is tied to this, to this, to this, because really we've all become a society that's you go to this person for this, you go to this
Right.
person for this, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
That's how we've been trained.
That's how we've been trained.
Right.
So in homeopathy, we look at the whole body, the whole mind, the emotion. We create a profile. So I would create a profile of kind of the different things. I would ask, like, do you have headaches? Do you have other skin conditions that you might say, oh, that ties that doesn't tie to this, but in our world it would. And we would create the profile of you, and then we would go back to our reference material, and we would find a remedy, we call them remedies, or a natural solution, that would match that same type of profile. You then take that remedy, and your body would start to ideally rebalance itself. So you might then come back 3 weeks later and say, well, my fingernails improved, Chris, but you know it's the strangest thing, like I'm not getting headaches anymore, or the headache isn't lasting as long, or I'm not having the stomach issues I used to have. So it's a very gentle solution, and it's a little bit kind of mysterious to people because it happens so gradually, and then you see things that we don't think relate start to actually shift.
Wow.
And it's the same thing, and it's the same thing with animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why when we look at Forever Paws, we look at the animals and we look at them not only, well, he has like a skin issue, but he might have some type of behavioral, you know, like he's shy or he's anxious or he's like off by himself and doesn't want to be near the other animals. Mm-hmm. So we observe the animal, like the physicals, how they're behaving, because they send us really big signals. We just have to watch them.
Right, because they can't talk to us.
They can't talk to us.
But you have to observe them. So you observe them in the environment, either if it was someone else, you could actually go to someone's home to observe them?
We do.
Okay, so you go observe the animals in the home, but in our case, you come to Forever Paws.
Correct. Yep.
Which is, I know you've worked with some cats with ours and some dogs, and we greatly appreciate that. And I know that it has, I've seen improvement. I've talked to Casey. At first, I got to say, some of my staff was, very skeptic, and they're like, and I'm like, you know what? If she's willing to come in and try to help us out, and I'm willing to try anything for the animals.
Right.
And everybody was like, no, okay, good luck with that. And then all of a sudden, I'm hearing, oh, well, Chris was here, and she's coming back, and I'm like, yeah, and I think it's working.
The hard thing at the shelter is you don't know how long the animal's going to actually be there.
That's a problem.
Right,
Yeah.
it is a problem.
So you may come and see a cat that's cowering in the kennel,
Right.
Into the cat, the cat yards, and you come back to treat it, and it got adopted, and it's gone.
Yep.
So that is one of the situations that we
Right,
have.
but the staff would share the information that Chris has been working with the animal, and hopefully they would be willing to continue.
The
Yep.
adopters.
The adopters would be able to continue, or at least have the information that they need to help the animal continue.
move forward.
Right, and that's important.
Yep, and that's an excellent point, because the thing that's nice about homeopathy is most of the remedies, like I mentioned, the silica to the phosphorus that we've worked with, most of those remedies you can get at the health food store. And we work with such low doses, so we work with doses, meaning the like if you look at Aleve or Tylenol, the strength.
Okay.
So the strength of the actual remedy or the solution, they're low enough that you can get them yourself.
Oh, okay.
And what's nice, so that's awesome, but the piece that's a little bit tricky for people is when you go into a health food store and you look at the homeopathic remedies, on the bottle they have like a label of one of the things it might help with. So that, similar again, like to Aleve, or, it helps with headaches. And what can happen for people is they're like, oh, well, it's a headache, so I need to take this remedy. And that person or that animal they give that remedy to, and it may not be the correct headache remedy for that animal or for that person. Because with homeopathy, because it is like all about the more than just the physical symptom, it's about the whole piece. There are a series of different remedies that you might give to an animal or to a person for a skin condition or for a headache. So that's the reason we do ask people for complicated cases to contact a homeopath or talk to someone that really has a good understanding of homeopathy. But they're available and they're really inexpensive. I mean, a homeopathic vial is like $10, and it will last people months, if not longer than months. It doesn't conflict with conventional medicine. You can do conventional medicine and take the remedies. There's very, very little side effects to it. So it's a really great natural resource for people to use at home for themselves and also for the animals.
So how does a business as yours that you have stay in existence? I mean, someone comes in and you sort of give them the cure, so to speak. Do they?
We don't cure.
You don't cure.
You can't say that.
You can't cure. Okay. Okay.
We will give them solutions that will help to alleviate their symptoms.
Okay.
Yes.
So you help them.
Yep.
Now, and we go with the regular route of medicine,
Yep.
we have insurance. I'm assuming that your business would not take insurance.
We do not.
Okay.
It would be lovely if insurance
Right.
was covered by homeopathy, and maybe we'll get there someday. We keep our pricing very reasonable for people. We do, so you can come in and do an initial consult, either with yourself or with the animal. And you then are given a remedy. So our remedies we include as a sample. Or if we find that someone really wants to, needs more, then they can go and they can actually purchase the solution at the health food store, or they can purchase it online. So there's a lot of, it's easy to do. The thing with people, I think the biggest challenge is really kind of getting out there that, what homeopathy is. I mean, it's over 200 years old. It was actually the medicine that was used in the United States prior to when we got more into conventional medicine and pharmaceutical. So Alex and I work very hard at really promoting them together. Like, it's not a do this or do, conventional medicine, but bring the best of both worlds together. So, we need to go to the doctors for certain things, but with homeopathy, our belief and what we do in our practice is we teach people how they can use some of these more gentle, natural solutions to keep themselves healthy, to use these things in place of some of the harder, more, conventional pharmaceutical things if they don't need to. And then, save the pharmaceutical pieces and save all the other wonderful things in conventional medicine for when you need them, but they're that much more powerful, right? And if we're building our immune system with homeopathy, or we're building our pet's immune system with homeopathy, then you're going to stay healthier and you're going to need to go you're going to need to go to the doctors less, right?
Which would make everybody happy.
Which would make everybody happy.
Exactly.
We want to be healthy.
Agreed. Agreed.
So how did you get into this field?
Oh, that's okay.
That's the big question.
I'll give you a short, so I'll give you the kind of the interesting story. So I actually came from technology. I actually was in banking. So what does a banking type person have to do with homeopathy? And I was I'm very analytical, so I am actually very kind of black and white. So at first, I did the same thing that you did when you let me into Forever Paws, right? I had hurt my back. I had a number of things kind of happen around a period of time in my life that I really couldn't get answers. Everyone was like, we don't really know what's going on, Chris. Your back should be fine. This should be fine. We're not sure what's happening. And it was a perfect example of how the mind, body, and all of that combine, and your body can only take so much, right? And so then it kind of goes into this, you have a trauma or you have a grief or whatever it might be, and you kind of go into a decline. So I went to the doctors and they're like, there's nothing wrong with this, there's nothing wrong with this. And I'm like, okay, but I'm just not feeling well. And my friend, who's a chiropractor, recommended a homeopath. And it was really funny because I was like, what's homeopathy? And I'm like, what is it? And then I was like, well, I don't care. I'll try anything.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
At that point,
so
why
when people
not?
say it to me, I
Absolutely.
laugh because I'm like, oh, I've been there. And then I went, and within 6 months, she resolved my physical symptoms. I was having anxiety. I was a little bit depressed because I had gone through some things in my life, and I understood why. But I'm like, how do I get out of this?
Sure.
And so I was like, this is amazing. And I really started to read about it and learn about it. And then I love to read, I love to learn. So I just got hooked. And I was reading and I was like, how do I learn more? And why aren't we using this? Like, why aren't we sharing this with our friends and our family?
Right. Yeah.
And that was before pets. I didn't even know that you could touch, do the same things with animals. And that's kind of how it happened. So she gave me a name of people that teach. And I started to go into a course, and then I decided I'm so much happier doing this than I was
Banking?
in banking.
Yeah.
Nothing against bankers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great career for almost 30. I was young.
Wow.
So it was what I started out of college. And so I just decided, okay, this would be my kind of retire out of the corporate land and kind of go into this. And then bring it to people, so.
Well,
Yeah.
Now, do you have to
That
be
was a mouthful.
licensed?
So we have a certification.
A certification,
Yep. So we
okay.
have a national certification. So I'm a certified classical homeopath. You also could go to a naturopathic doctor, and they are medical school, and they will very, very often have homeopathic backgrounds also. And then you have us who are lay people. They call us lay people homeopaths. But we go through a ton of training to be a certified professional homeopath, and it is a bit of a challenge because here in the United States, there are not as many schools that you can go to. So if you want to become a professional homeopath, you have to work at it. So it took me about 5 years part-time.
Wow.
And I just finished my final certification the end of the year, this past year. I was like, I'm not going another year, like I am getting this done.
I remember you going through that, and you kept saying, I'm going to school, I've got to get this done. I wanted to get her on the show earlier.
Taking these tests.
Right, and you congratulations. So
Thank
you finally completed it.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, some veterinarians are homeopathic.
There are.
I remember that from the past.
Really?
Yep.
I think we had a mobile vet that
Oh,
came to
yes.
our
Did
house.
homeopathy?
Yes.
He did homeopathy
Yep.
as well as
Yep.
conventional.
And there are medical doctors that do
And
homeopathy.
he did acupuncture too,
Yep.
because we had a dog that had to have acupuncture for cancer, actually.
Yep.
And he put him on homeopathic remedies as
Yep.
well.
As well.
So
yeah.
he had it all.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ideally what we want to see. It's not it's not a one way or the other. It's like take all of the things that, all these different gifts and all these different things that people have and use them together.
That's amazing. It is amazing. I'm impressed. Can you tell us, I know you worked with one of our cats at the shelter,
Yep.
just to tell our viewers of something
Get
about
back
the animals. We'll get back to the people in a minute. But
No, that's
No,
okay.
okay.
Let's talk about the pets.
So animals, like the cats, what exactly have you done at the shelter for us?
So, well, interesting. So we have Fuzzy, who was one of my first homeopathic ones that I did at Forever Paws,
Okay.
who I actually ended up adopting. Yep. So we have Fuzzy. He's wonderful. He's awesome.
Okay.
But so when he was at the shelter, he wouldn't go near anyone. And basically, when I went in, I observed him and we talked a little bit. I talked to a couple of your different employees because they're all wonderful and they all get to
Thank
know
you.
the animals, so they were
They do.
able to
They love
share
them.
that information.
Yep.
And it was really like he was just completely detached, and he was pretty much depressed. Like he was just like, I'm here,
Yep.
And we don't know their stories when they all come in, as we know. And so I gave him a remedy called Nature Miraticum. So Nature Miraticum is a really good remedy for grief. It's actually a remedy that I have taken. And it's really amazing because, I'm not a cat. Same remedies,
Yeah.
right? So, and what was interesting with him is he started to allow people to touch him and to get closer.
Wow.
And
I
so,
remember that, yeah.
yep. So a Nature Miraticum cat in grief is like, I'm going to go over there, and I don't want anything, to do with anyone. Another type of cat might be one that's like in your lap and whining and crying. That would be a cat that I would say to you, let's try pulsatilla, which is actually a plant. Okay? But the profile of pulsatilla is they're sad, they're weepy, they're kind of needy, if you want to look at it that way, where they're just like, I want attention, I'm not happy unless I'm having attention. So could be grief, right? But it's still a total different, same kind of diagnosis, for a lack of a better word. It's grief, two different remedies.
Gotcha.
Because you observe them and see what they're doing.
And you took information from the staff and found out. So how is Fuzzy doing now?
He's doing awesome.
Awesome.
And he is no longer shy. He's no longer shy, and
That's
he's very
wonderful.
comfortable. And I'm trying to think of some other guys
Is he
in
still
there.
on the medication? Does
Nope.
he still have to have it?
Nope.
No. So after a while,
They kind of
wean
can come off of it,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Because what you do in homeopathy with the animals is you're again trying to just rebalance them, right? So there's other things that go with it. There's behavioral things, or working with an animal a particular way and having patience with them. But the remedies really aren't meant to be. You're not meant to stay on them. They're really meant to, you as a human or as an animal, you give them a remedy. It helps you rebalance their immune system, if you want to look at it that way, or just themselves. It depends how different people refer to it as immune. To me, it's more we're all in or out of balance, right? And we have different stressors, and the animals have different stressors. And so when they have trauma, or they have to be surrendered, right? That's going to throw them out of balance. And so you give them a Nature Miraticum, you give them Ignatia is another plant, that one. And I've given that to a couple of the cats there. So we've used Ignatia at Forever Paws, we've used Nature Miraticum, we've used phosphorus. Now a phosphorus is more reactive to external. So that's a really good remedy sometimes for animals that have sensitive to noise, sensitive to light, sensitive to touch. Like they don't want to be touched. You could give them a dose of phosphorus and see if that will shift them where they're like, oh, I'm okay.
Now, how do they get this dose?
So They're in pellets.
Okay.
And so the actual the remedy or solution, that's what they're called, is placed on the pellet in a liquid, and then you basically have them in a vial, and they're little balls.
Okay.
And people always, they look at me like, you've seen some of them, Bev, and they're so tiny that people are like, oh, what can this do?
Like
right?
for my foster dog, 7 pellets. I was like, it's like a grain of salt.
People,
come
yeah.
out 7 pellets.
And I always say 7 to, I'm like, just look and eyeball it. But it is interesting because it's, we're taught more. I feel better, take more.
Right,
With
exactly.
homeopathy, if you see an improvement in the animal, you don't take more, you let them be. And then if they start to decline again, then you would give them that remedy again. So it's it's different for all of us because it's against kind of what we've been taught the last XYZ number of years.
Right.
But we've done Ignatia, Nature Muraticum, phosphorus. Aconite is a really good remedy to help with animals that have had any type of PTSD or trauma. And again, like you'll give the remedy and you'll just see them softly start to kind of shift where they're not as afraid or they're not as reactive. And that's the other reason it's a little tricky is because people will say, well, we did this, this, and this, and that's what worked.
Right.
And I've gotten to a space that we're very confident with what we do, and we see positive results in the animals and the people. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Whatever works.
As long as the animals are happy
Exactly.
and the people are happy, we're good. But it's so gentle that people don't really see the shifts. It's easier, like if it's a skin, because they're like, oh, the skin thing is resolved,
Right,
and
exactly.
that is always nice.
But it's the emotional, mental behaviors that you like the dog that we worked with.
Yep.
She's so hyper, so crazy,
Yep.
and anxious.
And anxious, yeah.
Right, and it's like trying to find the remedy for her.
Correct.
Is difficult.
It is
she's
difficult.
all over the place.
Yep. So we looked at phosphorus, and it doesn't sound like that necessarily is the right one for her, right? But when you said that to me, the next step that I go to is, okay, so there's another remedy called aconite, which is really good for the PTSD type things. So it's like, okay, then we would let's look at aconite, give her a dose of that, see if we see a shift in her. I mean, there are complicated cases.
Oh, yeah, we have one.
I have a
Right?
complicated
And
case.
we all know that from rescue, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's kind of the nature of it. But the beautiful thing is that if you can work with them and get, just improve, like Fuzzy, for example,
Right.
like he now wants to be in our lap, because people want animals that like to
Right.
cuddle and things like that. So if you can shift them that way and just get them where they're rebalanced, they feel a little bit better, like, okay, I'm here now and I'm happy, they get to that space. We just need to have patience, and that's something I think as a society we don't always have.
As a society, we don't have, and then
No patience.
Yeah,
No
and then,
patience.
No, and then, well, you've had your foster dogs
For a long time.
since
Right.
August.
For a couple of months,
And
so
you're
5
looking-
months. I
yeah.
think I've had my
Yeah.
foster dog. And
More than 5
she's going
months.
to be a tough adoption.
Yep.
Because she can't be with, she has to be with the person that's going to know how to control her behavior, so an experienced person.
Yep.
Like I can control her behavior, but how am I going to introduce her to people?
To
that's
people,
that's where the problem comes in. So if you're interested in adopting her,
Yeah.
and I bring it to you and she lunges at you, okay, I don't want her.
Right.
But she's fine with me.
With you, yeah.
She's a love and she's sweet and.
Just to clarify, you've had the dog about 9 months.
I don't think it's been 9 months.
August.
September,
I was
October,
going to
November,
say, actually, I
December.
think it's been a while.
What month is this? May?
Yeah,
June?
we're getting up there.
We're almost
getting
in
up there.
June,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, all right, I
I think
agree.
it's been
Right.
longer.
Yeah, it's been longer. But we didn't get Chris involved until most recently,
Right.
so we're going to try
Yeah,
some
we're
other
gonna
Try
stuff
some
with her.
more.
Yeah.
That
And-
aconite.
Yeah, and I think it's important that people understand that. I know for myself, and I've talked about this with you before, it's for me, it's taken the time to go and do something. I have significant allergies,
Yep.
and that are there all the time, and
Yep.
when I'm in the shelter, it's even worse. I am working with a traditional doctor,
Yep.
pulmonologist, to try to alleviate that. But then as I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and I'm like, yeah, I really need to do something like that. I really need to take a look at something else, because I want to be able
And
to.
my fingernail.
And your
And your
fingernail.
fingernail.
Yeah. I want to be able
We
to,
have two tasks.
to go in and feel better about
Right.
what's going on. And as I hate to say this, but as we age,
Yep.
we sort of need to give ourselves more attention.
Yep.
People, like you're talking about a second career, and I sit back and sometimes I say to the audience, well, this is my second career. Volunteering and
Yep.
running the animal shelter it is a career,
Yep.
and it's something that I'm very proud of. However, you always put yourself sort of at the back of the bus, you know, and you wait
Yep.
and you say, well, I'll get to that, I'll get to that. But sitting here talking to you, it sounds like something that it's easy. It's easy. I mean, you go, you talk to you,
Right.
get a profile, and then you go from there. You know, you talk about a chiropractor. The chiropractor that I also go to does homeopathic as well.
Yep.
And she was talking to me about, you know, she's saying to me, I think maybe you could, use a massage or go for a deep. And I said, oh no, that doesn't work for me. See, I'm one of those people. I'm very negative. I don't like to be touched. I don't want people, I don't want any of that stuff going on. So I told her, just use your magic fingers, use your magic potions, and just get me where I'm supposed to be. I got to go on vacation. And she laughs and she looks at me. I've only been to a few times, and she's like, okay, I think you mean that, don't you? And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in essence, I see other people coming out with, and she has, like you say, the little vials and all that, and
Yep.
I never even thought of that as an
Yep.
option.
Yep.
Because I am sort of the strict traditionalist.
Yep.
But yet when it came to the animals, if you can do something to help my animals,
Right.
I think it's awesome. And we have seen success, and I want the audience to understand that. This is something that, it's not hocus pocus, it's something that really does work, and I want you to really appreciate that. So can you just, just tell us a little bit about where you're located?
So we're located in Rochester. We have, it's 136 North Ave in Rochester. We have a studio there where we do both events. So we do events to kind of bring people together to learn about homeopathy and some of the other things we do. And then we actually see, as I said, both animals and people there, which is nice. And we time it a little bit differently. So it's not, it's not like going into the vet and you're a person that might be afraid of animals.
Right,
so,
exactly.
So we do keep it very separate. But it is nice to have that ability where if people want to bring the animal in, and then we also go out, we'll go out to farms, we'll go out to people's homes.
Farms. Farm animals too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, which is awesome. So I love the farm piece. But the piece I think with the animals and people that is interesting is, our goal is to really just teach people, you can use this for yourself, you can use these for your animals. You don't have to come see us all,
Right.
It's not just, come see us and it's our magic and we don't want to share it. We really want people to start using this for themselves. And we do classes and we do little snippets on, what remedies would be good for your animals, what are your animals like, what can you give your animal for a digestive complaint? Instead of giving them maybe something that might be a little bit harsher, here's a remedy to try. There's a really good remedy called lycopodium, which is a plant. And that's very, very good for animals that have anxiety and they end up having stomach and diarrhea and that type of thing. So, it's the goal is let's give everyone the tool to kind of do things day to day.
Wow.
And then if they need to go to the doctors, that's wonderful. It's not.
It is amazing. It's not hocus pocus. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we're running out of time. Yeah, I know. And
Sorry.
it's just no. You've given us a lot of information. I think the audience will appreciate all the information you've given them. I think it's important that they think about something like this. It's a different avenue, and that's what we try to do at Straight from the Paws. We're always believing in paying it forward. And when that's why I had said to you a year ago, and you said, "Well, I'm still in school. I'm still working on it." Okay, well that's fine. And again, congratulations for all your on your great accomplishments, and thank you for helping the animals at Forever Paws and helping us. So again, I just want to say to the audience, if you're something you're interested in, look her up, see what's going on, and thank you again for listening to Straight from the Paws.
Thank you.